Hi, my name is Layles and welcome to my channel and particularly this video, which is the start of a periodic podcast, I guess for lack of better words, called Reading My Bookshelf. Now, the reason I wanted to start this was primarily because I feel like I haven't been reading as much in my adult life as I did growing up. And there's a part of me that really doesn't like that, especially because I think reading is a healthy and good habit. It's also something that encourages you to think beyond yourself, as well as think more deeply about yourself in order to, empathize with more people and get a sense of the world that you don't necessarily get to see. I think reading's also obviously important on an educational front, and I don't think education has to end for everybody. I think, the more you can learn, the more that you have the capacity to lead and be there for other people. I mean, again, connecting with that point of it grows your empathy and it causes you to think deeply to better understand yourself and understand the world around you and navigate different things that you come up against in life. So I thought for this episode that I would talk about maybe some of the things that I like about reading. I mean, as I just said, things that I think it does beneficially for you, but beyond that, I also thought I would give some of my background with reading in general, because I think some things that I've experienced are not maybe the norm, especially as an American, in the US growing up. So, when I was a kid and even through into my teenage years, my mother's job through most of that time of my life was a librarian, which I think was the main thing that makes me sometimes think, not every other person has this connection to reading in that way. What this meant is that she has loved reading forever. She still reads to this day. And she reads, I think, more often than I do. And, I mean, it's not a competition or anything, but she's someone I look up to. And I would love to be reading as much as she does, in all honesty. That being said, I think also because of her love of reading, the amount that she was exposed to books as a librarian, I think that contributed greatly to how she chose to raise me. She, for one, read to me every single night, and I think she even did read to me when I was still in the womb. But that does so much, I think. Psychologically, it's been proven to help a kid educationally. She also encouraged me to read, I think, even more than school did in a lot of ways. We would go and look for books that I would like for one reason or another, or she thought I would like, and we would just check out a whole pile and take those home. I'd read through them. I don't think rarely did I not finish a book growing up. And I mean, that was something that was pretty solidly happening, even into high school. If she saw a book she thought I'd like, she'd send that. And even to this day, a pile of the books that I have, it's not very big, are actually her books that she's lent to me. And, I mean, I want to read those and return them to her. So, that's kind of also a reason that I'm starting this, is I have a lot of books and I know I've not read all of them, and I'd love to make sure that I'm reading the things that I have, since I've put money into some of this stuff. But, she was very encouraging. One of my, you know, core memories, to use the reference from Inside Out, as a little kid, it was, lying down. This would be before I could actually read. Lying down on her bed with her, and she had a copy of Bambi. And obviously at that age, I was not necessarily enthused with Bambi, especially because I'm talking about like the actual chapter book by the author. It's not like a Disney book, And we'd lie next to each other, and then the dog would get up on the bed too, and we'd just kind of be like three in a row, and she'd be reading me Bambi, and I'd just be listening, even though I couldn't really understand everything that was happening. And I mean, I don't think we ever actually finished the book because I never really understood what was happening. But I mean, she still chose to do that. Otherwise, she was also like very much like, Lori, you need to keep reading, when I was a kid. And I don't think she ever really said it that way, but it was always just something that was felt. And maybe that was part of like heavily being involved with things at the library. You're always going to one book sale or another. You're doing summer reading programs. You're going to events, and there's just always books. I mean, even like when I was in high school, I would walk from school to the library to meet with my mom instead of, having someone come pick me up or me taking the bus. And I would spend like a good extra half hour to an hour at the library after school most days, just reading until she was off work. And I mean, those are things I look back on and really love. Now, I don't think that I read as much, obviously, as I said, as I used to. And I think a lot of that incorporated itself because of two things. First, I think I did get insanely burnt out from reading due to school. And this isn't me saying that we should be reading less in school. I think reading is really important in school, especially for all the benefits that it has. But I do think, especially like as I got from junior high into and through college, the amount of reading I had just grew so exponentially that I think I honestly felt like I overdid myself, and that is quite a possibility. I'm not very quiet about it, but I do have mental health issues, and whenever you have something that causes you to not function normally, or, you can function normally, but your normal doesn't look like other people's normal, it can take a lot less to make you worn out, if that makes sense. The other reason that I think I kind of stopped reading as much was because about midway, a little more than midway through high school, my mom suddenly was let go from her librarian position. And it was nothing that she did. I don't think I'm really free to talk about details based on some of what happened. But it was something that was pretty uprooting for me and jarring, because I had spent a lot of my life up to that point where the library was kind of like a second or third home. And it was kind of like I was suddenly forced to not have that home anymore. And it caused a very big sense of discomfort just about being in a library in general. I did have to deal with that somewhat in college, obviously, because you do a lot of research usually in college. I had to, especially for the tracks that I was in. And you have to face when you're doing research. You need to go to a library. There is an amount you can do online, but you need some physical books too. It's really just going to make your work so much better. So I did have to deal with that, but a school library is also kind of different than a public library. The types of options that you have there are different, and the things that you do there are different. It's not as community oriented, I guess, is what I'm going for. So, I mean, there's some differences, but I think that definitely made it more difficult. After what happened with the library especially, it kind of turned into every once in a while we would drive to the nearest larger city to go to a bookstore, and we'd pick out books that we knew we'd probably like. It would usually be based on like an author, or if we had heard a friend talk about it, and if it was on sale. Like, those types of things kind of get into consideration. That being said, I don't think I've given away many books at all. And now I've amassed at least one bookshelf, and actually it's more than one bookshelf because I know I have several other places where books are kind of stored. But I have quite a bit of books, and I know I've not read through all of them. And that's part of my goal, is I want to read through everything that I own to be sure and say I've read it cover to cover. That being said, if something comes up and I do need to DNF, which is did not finish, I think I'll talk about it and probably talk about why and maybe try to revisit later. I know there's a couple books I have that I've DNF'd before. Primarily not because I wasn't enjoying it as much as it was triggering me in one way or another. And I know, like, with growth, things change, so I want to try again. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Otherwise, I think reading is just great. It's a great way to, think about other people. It's also a way to, I don't want to say, like, escape the world and be an escapist entirely, but, I mean, there's some truth in that. It's a great way to, get away from some of the things that get us bogged down in day-to-day life, and I want to let myself feel that in, like, a relaxing habit way. So, I'm hoping that this will be something that I keep doing, and I do have one book I've already finished that I'm gonna record something for, and I'm hoping to basically record something after each book I read. It probably won't be regular at all. Anyone who watches my channel with my video game stuff knows that I'm not really a regular poster. I try to be. I, very much wish I was. My life is just too crazy. Every time I try to be, something happens, and I just don't have the wherewithal to do everything and, be there for everything, because something has to go, and if it's something I just do for myself, usually that's the first thing that goes. So, I'm hoping this continues, and as I finish books, there'll be something here. So I hope you have a good rest of your day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are when listening to this, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.